Ja Morant unfortunately suffered a repeat tweak of his left ankle on this play and had to be carried off the court. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the basics of what you need to know about this type of injury. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and if you're new here and enjoy learning about the underlying anatomy and mechanisms of different sports injuries, then please be sure and consider subscribing to stay up to date with all future videos. This was unfortunately yet another tweak of Ja's left ankle, something that he's already injured multiple times in the past. Most of the time when I'm concerned about Ja getting hurt, it's with him coming down off of one of his dunks or when he's jumped up really high in the air. But as we can see on this play here, if we focus on his left foot and ankle, really he was just stepping backwards. He wasn't coming down from a dunk, so this wasn't as high risk of a play, just an unfortunate event. But we can see here how his left ankle turns into this inversion position where the outside of the ankle rolls down towards the court, when this is going to result in typically an inversion or a lateral low ankle sprain. Interestingly though, one of the more concerning things about this is the fact that it really doesn't look like he actually steps on the defender's foot. Initially, it might look like he came down, but really it just looks like the defender's leg sort of knocks into the inside portion of his heel, causing it to sort of continue swinging outward and going into that inversion position. And in the setting of Ja having a recent injury to that same ankle, you have to wonder really how ready those tissues were to handle that load and just how ready his active stabilizers were to respond to this type of a contact, because this is a minimal type of thing, something that typically I wouldn't expect leading to enough momentum and energy transfer to actually cause that ankle to turn. We can see that same sort of thing from this back view. Again, it doesn't really look like Ja steps on anybody's foot here. I talked about this with Zion's ankle sprain at the beginning of the season, how it's more concerning when we see these sort of indirect contact, non-contact types of sprains, where it's more the body's lack of its ability to control the proprioception and control the dynamic support. We see it's just that slight little glance from the Thunder player kind of knocking his heel a little bit outward that causes it to go into that inversion position. Next, we'll talk about what the medical team is doing here with their evaluation and some characteristics of the specific type of sprain that tell us a little bit more about what tissue could be injured. But first, we're going to go back to the old studio for a message from the sponsor of this video. This video is sponsored by The Ridge, the makers of this super slim wallet that's been my everyday carry for the past couple of years and the only wallet that I'd recommend. I used to be that guy who had the super thick wallet, and honestly, half the stuff inside of it I never actually used. Thankfully, with the Ridge wallet, I get this super nice, slim, really durable, solid feel in the hand minimal wallet that holds just the essential cards that I need, as well as some cash on the back. It can hold up to 12 cards that easily can push out and has plenty of space in the back for cash with a money clip or a band. The durable material means it's backed with a lifetime warranty, and there's over 30 styles to choose from, including this super slick carbon fiber model they just sent me that I might have to transition everything over to. The Ridge also recently introduced these really nice key holders that are a good slim way to hold on to just your essential keys. Get the best offer now by heading to ridge.com/BrianMD to save up to 40% through December 22nd. Whether that's a new key case for yourself or a nice slim wallet for a friend this holiday season, head to ridge.com/BrianMD to again save 40% off through December 22nd. Thank you again to The Ridge for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to our learning. What the medical team is doing here on the sidelines is basically just palpating the outside or lateral portion of Ja's left ankle. You can see the staff member's right hand here basically pushing on the outside of his ankle, and it's when they get to about the typical place where we'd expect to see a sprained ligament from an ankle turn that we saw Ja kind of express that he was in a lot of discomfort. So one reassuring thing about that is that his pain is at the typical location here in the lateral ankle where we would expect it to be. Remember, an ankle sprain can result in other injuries. We can have fractures of the fifth metatarsal bone, but that's going to be down at the foot. So the fact that his pain locations seem to be at the typical location for a common inversion sprain is a reassuring factor that his pain at least wasn't down in the foot, where we're worried more about a fracture of one of those foot bones. The second thing I want to point out is how Ja's ankle was plantar flexed whenever it went into this inversion position. Plantar flexion is when your toes are pointed downward. Dorsiflexion is when they're pulled up. There's a specific ligament that's most often injured when the ankle goes into inversion while it's plantar flexed. And that again is the more common ligament that's torn. So everything about this injury sort of adds up to be the more traditional kind of standard presentation that we see with an ankle sprain, which all things considered is typically a more reassuring pattern. With our biodigital anatomy tool here, we're looking at the lateral or outside portion of a left ankle. The ligaments that I've shown here, this first one highlighted is called the ATFL, stands for anterior talofibular ligament, because it runs from the talus bone to the fibula. This is the ligament that's most commonly torn when somebody suffers a sprain that looks like this. and it is most often injured when the foot or ankle is in that plantar flexed position. You can see sort of the angle of that ligament is a little bit perfectly straight across here, but whenever you point the toes down into plantar flexion, you basically already put a little bit of tension on that ligament and kind of line it up more in the direction of the sprain. If somebody sprains their ankle where the foot is more neutral or dorsiflexed, it's typically going to be a ligament called the CFL, the calcaneofibular ligament, that gets torn. That's the second most common one injured. And then the third most common is this little guy in the back here, the posterior talofibular ligament. This does not look like a high ankle sprain mechanism. That's going to be this ligament higher up here between the fibula and the tibia. This again looks like a standard low ankle sprain inversion type of injury. If we go triple box with this now, let's review it one more time. So we see Ja's left ankle come back here. He's in a little bit of plantar flexion with the ball of his foot landing first. Think about here in our anatomy model, this ATFL ligament in particular. The ankle is plantar flexed down. That's going to put more tension, align those fibers more with the direction of the turn. So then as the Oklahoma City player comes in, he basically contacts the inside of Ja's left foot, forces his heel to kick out a little bit, which then causes his ankle to roll into that inversion position. Again, this looks like a standard low ankle sprain inversion type of injury, not the more sinister high ankle sprain. Recovery with these recurrent sprains kind of so close together is always a little bit harder to predict because it's hard to know really what the extent of the damage was when you just missed one game, and then really how much rehab you're able to do with what might seem at the time like a very mild injury. This is always the concern with recurrent sprains, right? It's what we saw happen with Steph Curry. You have one sprain, you maybe don't have enough adequate time to recover from it, or you suffer another sprain pretty quickly thereafter. Each subsequent injury sort of increases your risk of having more problems with that ankle down the road. And so with each of these sprains for Ja, it just sort of makes this a bigger and bigger issue that hopefully can be addressed before more and more sprains continue to occur, especially to that same ankle. The fact that he wasn't able to put any weight on it whatsoever as he was being carried off the court is definitely a little bit more concerning as well, because that's actually one of the markers that we use to determine if you need x-rays after an ankle sprain is in part whether or not you can put weight on it right away and then later on. But that's one negative thing going for this. So the evaluation here, really, number one, x-rays, make sure there's no bone fractured. Number two, potentially an MRI, just depending on likely how bad his pain is tomorrow. And then he'll have a better sense of what additional damage might be there and what his recovery time is going to be. I also probably sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but please wear ankle braces. They help, they make a difference. It pains me to see these guys get recurrent ankle sprains and not be wearing braces. We finally saw Trae Young start to wear braces after his recurrent sprains. Of course, I could argue they've saved Steph Curry's career in part. So please get Ja some braces, try to find something comfortable for when he comes back on the court. That's it for the video. Hope it was educational. Let me know down below what you learned, any other comments or questions you might have. Again, thank you to The Ridge for sponsoring this video. It's a great wallet. Really enjoy using mine, so go check them out down below as well. It's a great way to help support this channel. Till next time, we'll see you later. Bye.